Silent Village. A group of 5 friends, Leela, Sam, Erin, Marcus, and James, set off on a hiking trip deep in the countryside. They were eager to escape the city and explore nature, armed with maps, supplies, and a sense of adventure. But their journey took a turn when a sudden storm forced them to find shelter. While scanning the area for cover, they spotted a faint light flickering through the dense trees. Following it, they stumbled upon a village that wasn't marked on any of their maps. The village was quaint yet unnervingly quiet. Cobblestone streets wound through clusters of old houses, each with shuttered windows and heavy doors. The only sound was the distant rustle of the wind. "This place is odd," Erin said, shivering. "But it's dry," Marcus pointed out, leading them toward a small inn with a wooden sign swinging in the breeze. Inside, the innkeeper, an elderly man with a weathered face, greeted them. His eyes were cautious, darting toward the windows. "You'll need to stay inside tonight," he said without preamble. Leela frowned. "Why, what's out there?" The man hesitated before replying, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Watchers. They come at night." The group exchanged uneasy glances, but the storm outside was too fierce to continue their journey. They rented rooms and settled in, though the innkeeper's warning lingered in their minds. As night fell, the village seemed to grow darker than it should have. There were no street lights, and the moon was obscured by thick clouds. From their windows, the friends could see shadows moving in the streets, tall, thin figures that seemed to glide rather than walk. "They're just people," James said, trying to reassure the others. "Villagers, probably," but as they watched, the figures stopped in unison, turning their faceless heads toward the inn. The friends backed away from the windows, their hearts racing. The next morning, the village was as quiet as before. No one mentioned the shadows. The innkeeper avoided their questions and urged them to leave before nightfall. But curiosity got the better of them. Determined to uncover the truth, they decided to stay another night and explore. That afternoon, they wandered through the village, finding it eerily empty. Every house was locked, and no one would answer their knocks. In the village square, they discovered a strange monument, a stone pillar covered in carvings of faceless figures surrounding a circle. At its base, an inscription read, "Silence is survival. Speak, and they will come." "What does that mean?" Leela asked, her voice shaky. "Maybe it's just an old superstition," Sam suggested, though his unease was clear. That night, the shadows returned. This time, they were closer, their movements more deliberate. The friends huddled in one room, trying to stay silent, but the tension was unbearable. Erin whispered, "We have to leave now." Her whisper seemed to echo unnaturally, and the room grew colder. The shadows outside stopped moving, turning their heads toward the inn again. A loud knock on the door shattered the silence. The friends froze as the knocking grew louder, more insistent. Then came a voice, soft and chilling. "Why are you here?" Panic set in. Sam bolted for the door, but the moment he opened it, a figure stood in the doorway, a tall, faceless shape that loomed over him. Before anyone could react, it reached out and grabbed him, pulling him into the darkness. The door slammed shut on its own, and the group was plunged into chaos. Leela screamed, but James clamped a hand over her mouth, remembering the inscription, "Silence is survival." The rest of the night was a blur of terror. The shadows pressed against the windows, their faceless forms peering in. The friends huddled together, barely daring to breathe. When dawn broke, the shadows vanished, and Sam was gone. Desperate to escape, the remaining friends ran out of the village, not stopping until they were miles away. When they finally reached another town and told their story, the locals went pale. That village? An old woman said. It was abandoned decades ago. No one who goes there ever returns. Years later, Leela couldn't shake the memory of the faceless figures. Every so often, she would wake in the middle of the night, convinced she could hear a soft knock at her door and a voice whispering, "Why are you here?"
Trava na ponta da pica, ai, senta no palhaço, oi, senta no palhaço.